Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Evening Nine Golf Podcast. Today is Sunday, February 15th. We're wrapping up Valentine's Day weekend and the Pebble Beach Pro Am. How you doing, Matt?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. Did absolutely nothing today, but just watch golf. Practice my short game in my house. So it's been a great day, along with just a phenomenal weekend. I am fired up after that weekend. Colin Morikawa back in the winner's circle. That's obviously the headlines for the first time in over 2 years. And the last win was Zozo, so that barely counts. But we'll get into that later. I mean, great leaderboard. How about Anthony Kim over on LIV? I mean, great story. Overall, amazing weekend, absolute cinema. Um, the best week of the year. I'm probably gonna say it about five more times, but best week of the year. Let's dive into it.
Let's dive in. You want to start with the Pebble Beach Pro Am?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, congratulations to Colin Morikawa. Yeah, first win in over 2 years. His last win came at the 2023 Zozo Championship. So, I mean, that's over 3 years ago, right? Because that's the end of the season. So, must feel really good. Definitely kind of a weird career for Colin Morikawa because he's still a really young guy. He's only 29, and had a bunch of success early on and then tailed off. So congrats to him. A huge Saturday, 18 for 18 on greens hit,
Yep.
which is outrageous. Kind of propelled him to into the final group on Sunday, and then just kind of held on. Akshay did obviously kind of tailed off, but still a great performance from Colin Morikawa. Weathering the storm a little bit with the not as bad as expected, but still poor weather. And yeah, sealed it on 18. So congrats to Colin Morikawa.
Yep. Not only weathered the storm, as in the winds and the rain, but weathered the 30-minute delay on hole 18
Yeah,
as he was waiting for Bridgman to play his way up.
yeah, that was pretty ridiculous. I mean, obviously it is what it is. Bridgman, obviously he got into a little trouble there, but he was afterwards, and he was. I think somebody said I'm not. Somebody can fact check me. Can fact check this, but I think he was hitting his back. I think he was like taking swings, not like full swings, but I think he was like taking full swings just to stay warm, especially on a pretty chilly day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely a little bit of a roadblock for him.
Yep. And then Morikawa breaks the big news in the post conference that he and his wife are expecting after kind of an emotional win and moment. So that's super cool. Congrats on the win and on the child. What are
I
your
didn't
thoughts
even
on
I didn't
that?
even catch that. I'm all golf all the time, so I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. Press conference afterwards, still standing on 18th green, breaks the news to pretty much everyone. He said they started telling friends and family this week. And what better way to do it than on the 18th green at Pebble Beach when you just won in front of the whole world.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to the Morikawas for sure.
Love it. Yeah, so take me through today. Obviously, not quite as stormy as expected, but still low scores as we expected. What are your thoughts on Morikawa had the 62 like you said yesterday, Rory and Scotty going low on Sunday. What are your thoughts on the course? How did it play?
Yeah, I was say first off, I'm gonna jump into some other scores real quick. I mean, great, kind of like you said last week. Really young leaderboard. I mean, look at the top. You had all these kind of new names, some familiar names, but some of these new names. I mean, Hisatsuni, Rio Hisatsuni, I said it correctly, was back at the leaderboard, 23 years old, brand new name. I think he's going to be here to stay for a little bit. Obviously, had Minwoo Lee coming runner up with that birdie on 18. Was maybe going into a playoff. Akshay Bhatia was obviously right there until he kind of fell off towards really the back nine on Saturday was really where he tailed off. But a really young guy, Bridgman's a relatively young guy, but it's really cool to see a lot of these young guys and kind of these new names perform in some big events. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. And then obviously the big story for pretty much, I feel like the majority of the day was Scotty. The thing is with Scotty, maybe we'll dive in a little more. Is it seems like if he can just get the first round under control, which we know he can, we know he will. There's no, in my opinion, there's no way that if he just has a solid, doesn't even have to be a phenomenal first round. If he has a solid, opening round where he's, in the 20s, I feel like he's a lock to win. It just seems like that. Seems like his back to back Sundays where he comes from way behind, shoots a 60, what was it, a 63 today? Yeah, 63. 7 under on par fives, which is outrageous. Yeah, and
Mhm.
then Tommy had a great weekend in general, but a great Sunday. Rory had a great Sunday, so still some of the big guys up there at the top. But course was yeah, definitely playing pretty easy. That those front 7 holes are unbelievably easy, and then you know I was actually kind of hoping, kind of banking on that weather towards the end. I was kind of wanting it to play pretty hard. I mean, we saw some of the wind like on Morikawa on 17. He got into a little trouble, but because of the wind, but. I was really banking on it like getting really bad, so we were going to see the teeth a little bit. But it is what it is.
Mhm. Mhm. How about on 17, Collins' shot bouncing backwards rather than going into the hazard? That was pretty lucky. I don't know if you saw the replay of that. I mean, 17 plays towards the water. You've got the wind whipping, just hits a stinker of a shot, and it was headed straight at the hazard and skips about a foot in front of it, and instead of carrying its momentum, it bounces backwards onto the course. So that extra shot right there could have
Yeah.
absolutely changed everything.
No, I didn't even see that. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that's kind of what it takes sometimes to win these tournaments. Is I mean, you got to have a little bit of luck. Some things just got to go your way. I mean, there's a lot of really good players in the field. Sometimes you just need a bounce like that.
Yep. And going back to Scotty as well, um, the theme now is his first round woes.
Mm.
It it it's only been twice, but it's so blatantly obvious that you can't not notice it as a trend. It's not even like you're asking him to go 7 under to open up the tournament. If he can stay, like you said, within a couple of shots of the lead, put up anything really, being even at Pebble Beach to open up the tournament is definitely losing strokes. But he comes back both Sundays to nearly win from, drastically behind. And you could say that playing from so far behind on Sunday takes the pressure off and lets him go out there and put up a number. But I think at the end of the day, those first rounds could come back to start haunting him. Not that he's in desperate need for a win, but that he wants to more than anything. So I'm sure he's going to try and take care of that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's definitely a big part of his success on Sun. Like again, 2 straight weeks where he's battling away from behind and gets third in each. Um, Definitely a part of that is because there isn't any pressure and he can play very aggressively, because why isn't he going to try to win? And he even said that in his post game presser that he could play. He was free to play as aggressive as he could. So he got really aggressive. And those 3 bogeys that he had, right? Three bogeys that he had were a result of that. And he did miss some pretty short putts on all of them. But yeah, also when you're as good as him, and once you kind of get freed up to play pretty aggressive, you're bound to have some low rounds. But
Mm,
yeah, I think it's also a big mental factor for the guys at the top of the leaderboard when you're not. You see him on the leaderboard, but you're like, okay, he is in the lead, but he's in the clubhouse. All I have to do, especially on a course that's relatively easy, all I have to do is birdie a hole, or a hole or two, and you're not really worried about him. So him definitely, it would definitely do him some favors. Obviously, to have a good round, having a bad round is never gonna be an advantage, but also kind of put some pressure on the leaders. When it's a lot different when he's right next to you and you're like, we're tied. Who's going to win the last 3 holes?
right,
Me or the number one player in
right.
the world by a wide margin. So, um, I mean, I know it's kind of like last year when he was still coming off that hand injury, and people were like, kind of they were kind of rushing to conclusions like, oh, he's he hasn't won 3 events in a row. It's like, come on, like it's a long season. He's gonna be back. Like one of these I'm sure a couple of these rounds he's gonna have a great first round, or sorry, a couple of these weeks he's gonna have a great first round, and he's gonna be Scotty Scheffler again. So
Yep. Yeah, great points. Any surprises in the field? You mentioned there was quite a young leaderboard. It's nice to see some new faces, but also kind of got burnt when I said last week you got your speeds, you got your Rickies that are falling, and they just shut me up real quick.
yeah, I mean, I can't throw this stone because I don't know Xander's exact finish, but I also said Xander was gonna have a rough week, and he had like a top 25 or top 30 finish, so I can't throw any stones. But I are we back? Are we turning back the clocks? 2015, 16? Is this 2016? Are we going to see Ricky Fowler get his first major win of the year or of his career? Sorry, are we going to see Jordan Spieth? Big comeback. No, obviously
Yeah,
I'm joking. But it is nice to see those guys who we all love, and we all love seeing them play golf. It is nice seeing them at the top. So definitely has to feel really good for all of them as well. So
yeah. I don't even know where they ended up finishing. I just know that they were in the lead cards on Saturday, but didn't see their names too much on Sunday. Now that I think about it.
no, they did have rough Sundays, definitely, but I mean, still putting three rounds together in signature events, not nonetheless.
Hmm.
I believe they both had top 20 finishes. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So really big, especially with obviously it's a stacked field. So it's really nice to see them. Maybe they have decent years coming up, and then also we got JT coming back soon. So who knows? Again, maybe the three of them are back. So.
That's right. The boys are back.
Maybe they're going to start going on spring break trips and everything. So
Yeah. What else you got? You want to talk about maybe the course a little bit?
yeah, we can dive into the course absolutely. Um, yeah, I shared with you my hot take, but after watching this, obviously it was a great round of golf, and it's a beautiful, beautiful course. I mean, maybe the most beautiful course in the country. Definitely, if not, it's definitely one of. But I am kind of curious about the U.S. Open next year. Um, I mean, even with relatively poor conditions, they were just lighting it up. I mean, yesterday Akshay goes 6 under through the first seven. Today Scotty goes 7 under through the first seven. I'm definitely curious, and it's kind of to me takes some of the luster out of Pebble Beach when these guys are just tearing it up. A big question I have is going back to the U.S. Open next year. Like, what are they going to do to make it harder? Because it just seems like it's going to be, Mount Everest to make that course a U.S. Open course where the finishing score is even 5 under, 6 under.
Right. Yeah, they had a couple new tee boxes, at least one new tee box for this tournament, kind of more so in preparation for the US Open. But because it's in a resort and it's on the ocean, you can't push back tees any
Yeah.
further. You can't move greens around. You can't move land. So
Mhm.
I am very interested. You can grow the rough, but to what extent? We thought that would
Yeah.
tear up Oakmont, and I don't think
Mhm.
I don't think the rough penalizes the professionals quite as much as we expect. And so, what is Pebble going to do? Maybe they'll have a super windy week that would work out well for the U.S.
Maybe they'll bring in fans. But yeah, and some of the thing is that some of the most iconic holes are just so easy for them. If I go and play eight, sure. Well, I played eight on the simulator the other day, and I did bogey it, but on it's downhill. It's 100 yards playing downhill. It's a flip wedge in from the tee box, so it's definitely a concern of mine. It's definitely like I said before we got on. It is a resort. It's made for people to go and,
Yeah,
and play and have fun playing. It's a beautiful course. It's just I just don't think it's set up for U.S. Opens for professional events. And don't get me wrong, it's definitely fun seeing these guys light it up sometimes. But and this is no slight on Pebble Beach and the Pebble Beach Company, I believe, is technically the owner of it, and the people that the superintendents, everyone like that. But it's just to me, it's just not a U.S. Open course, and I don't know what they can do. I can't see that the green's getting all that fast either, just because of it's a relatively rainy area. So who knows? Like you said, the rough is about as much as they can do. Even the with the new tee boxes, still playing maybe 70, 100 yards the most, which
Hmm.
kind of brings into question, like, if you do grow up the rough, what are the chances that they instead players, you see a lot of them just taking 3 wood off the tee, hitting the fairway, and then having a mid or long iron into the green. So it'll be curious. I You never know with USGA. I hope for you know the USGA's sake, and for just the viewing pleasures, that they do a really good job, and maybe we do see even like a 10 under would be fun. So,
Right.
but
Yeah, I mean, you've got Morikawa standing on the 18th tee today, and even though he's tied for the lead, it's basically
yeah,
his tournament to lose. Even with the weather conditions, everyone's expecting him to make birdie. I think maybe hole 18 and hole 2 they make par fours,
yeah,
so that gives back
Mm.
8 shots throughout
yeah.
the U.S. Open
That's
tournament.
for sure. It'll play a set par 72. But you did remind me of this. This is going to get clipped right here. Probably maybe my hottest take in golf is, as beautiful as hole 18 is, and the course in general. Um, I am not a fan of hole 18 as a PGA Tour, especially a major championship finishing hole. It's one of the most beautiful finishing holes in golf. The scenery is unbelievable. If I ever go play, it's going to be, one of my favorite holes, I'm sure. But for these guys, it's just like you said. It is He's standing on the tee, and he's tied with Minwoo Lee, and Minwoo Lee basically has no chance to win unless he puts one into the water. So to me, it's just too easy of a finishing hole. I like to see something where there is a chance that and even go back to Minwoo Lee, that like they both do bogey, and Scotty Scheffler is all of a sudden in a playoff. I think you people like seeing that, especially in majors. So my hot take in golf, and maybe my hottest golf take, is Pebble Beach for the PGA Tour is a below average finishing hole, just because of the difficulty level.
Mm. Yeah, and they're gonna have to make it a par four for the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I would enjoy that. There's a couple holes that definitely a par four. You can even push the tee box up a little bit and make it a par four, and then it would be a great finishing hole. I'd have no complaints. But right now, it's a par
I would,
five. I just don't think it's a great PGA
yeah.
Tour.
Well, that's good. We'll see what the fans have to say about that. They might come for your neck.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'll stand here for it, but I'll die on that hill. Again, if it's a par four, if it was a par four, I think it would be the best finishing hole in all of golf. But just how easy it is, I'm just not a fan. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, all in
Nonetheless,
all,
it's fun
I
to
don't
watch.
want to. I don't want to. What's that?
It's still a lot of fun to watch
Yeah,
this week.
I was gonna say, all in all, Pebble is a phenomenal course. No slight on that. It should be in the top 5 bucket lists of every golfer. So no slight on Pebble. It's just for I'm curious. I'm curious about the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
But I would say, if you don't have any more remarks on the course, then let's get into our picks. So
Let's do it.
it was a major victory for Team Hido, major failure for Team Diesel. Just dive into your picks a little bit.
All right. Starting with top 25, J Day. Where did he finish at? I wasn't watching him.
24th, tied for 24th.
All right. One
You
for
got 3
one.
points there.
Top 10, we went Tommy Fleetwood. We know he had a good Sunday, slipped in that top 10, so we're two for two. Uh, Top 5 was Rory. While he didn't make it in the top 5, did he sneak into the top
He
10?
was tied 14th, I believe. Tied 13th or 14th. I
Okay.
forget which.
Okay. Great Sunday round. Still had a backdoor top 20 finish, so I didn't get my points there, but
You
that's
got one
fine. And then
point. You got one
Scotty's
point.
winner. Oh, I got 1 point. Okay.
You got 1 point for
Scotty,
yeah.
yeah. Then Scotty as the winner. We came close, still got points for that because he finished in the top five. So all in all, not a bad week of picks. Should have put actual money on it this week.
I would go so far and say that was a phenomenal week of picks for you. Maybe I mean, as obviously as we go on, maybe that's. I'd be shocked if anybody gets the perfect. Well, I guess it would be 14 points would be perfect. I'd be shocked if that ever happened. So I feel like 8 points is pretty much as good as what we're going to get.
Yeah, and it wasn't even looking that great. It just fell into place on Sunday.
Yeah, that's
Scotty
what
and Rory
it was
had
looking.
nothing going on.
It was looking really close up until even like going into after probably halfway through the day, it was looking pretty close. Like it was looking like I might get 4 points. Like it was looking, maybe a 2-4 victory for Team Hideout or something like that. But terrible, terrible performance by my guys. I think they got together and said, "Hey, Big Diesel, Big Quaves has you guys on our team. Let's just tank." So for my team, my top 20 was obviously Bobby Mack. He was close. He did have a rough back stretch. The last three holes, I think he bogeyed 17, which knocked him out of point range, but he was within striking distance. But he finished like 36 or 37, something like that. So he was relatively close, but that was a miss. Excuse me. But top 10, Russell Henley, he was the only one that scored me any points. He got a tied for 19th. So he was within that 10 strokes. So that was it. He was really close too. Um, so and then my top five, Victor Hoffman was I was dead wrong on that. He had a terrible week. I think he finished 6 under, way back. I think he was in the bottom half. If there was a cut, I think he would have missed the cut. And then Cam Young, kind of the same thing. He just that was my. I was trying to be original and it just didn't go well. So I learned my lesson. I'm gonna bounce back. But congrats to Team Hido. Congrats to Team Hido. Great picks, four
Yeah.
great picks. So congrats to
Yeah, it
Josh.
does make the signature events more fun. Since you're not watching a cut line, you've got these guys to root for.
Yeah.
But signature events, I feel like also lets some guys, like you mentioned,
Mm.
Victor and Cam Young, they just kind of slip into the margins. And come Sunday, there's no story around them. I mean, yes, you have that in every tournament, but when guys actually make the cut, they're playing for a position, for points, for money. With these signature events, I don't know, does it make Sundays feel not meaningless, but it's not quite the same, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it does kind of feel like they're either going for a win or, obviously everyone's always trying to chase a win, but I don't know. It does just kind of seem like it also stretches the fight out, obviously. Like, whenever you're outside of the cut line, you're fighting to make the cut. Whenever you're towards the top, you're obviously fighting for a win. Whereas it seems like signature events, if you're back in the cut line, you're still fighting to do the best you can for points and for money. But it just seems like there's less urgency there. So as much as signature events are the best because they have these big names, you're right. It definitely does allow people to kind of slip into the margins, and that's definitely what happened with Victor and Cam Young. Was I mean they it's not even like they had terrible weeks. They just kind of slipped into everyone. There's so many good players there that they just were another guy. There's another guy on the leaderboard. So um,
Hmm.
it is tough to pick, but
Yeah. And I was just trying to pull up to check where Ludwig Oberg finished as well. Well, T37, I guess not as great as I initially thought, but you could also make a point that these signature events where there's no cut gives a chance for the cream to really rise to the top because a guy
mm,
like him shoots a 75 first round and you see that and
yeah,
you're like, wow, this guy, he might really be continuing the fall off for
mm,
2026. But when he has three more rounds after that, it gives him a chance to fight back. And so you could make a case that
mm,
the signature events give the best players a chance to really have the fairest fight rather than being eliminated after 2 rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at it. Like Scotty was even he would have been if there was a cut, he barely would have made the cut. So it does have definitely something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, I like the cuts personally. I understand why the signature events don't have cuts. If you I feel like most people kind of see it, if you get into these signature events, you've made the real tour at that point. You are on the premier tour in the world. You are playing against the premier guys, but the cut definitely does add some. To me, it adds some flavor to it. It gives kind of a tournament within a tournament. So,
Yep.
but yeah,
Well, we
I
get to
do.
look forward to it again next week.
Yeah,
So that'll be fun.
and yeah, next week will be another great one. Back to Rev, which we haven't been to. They haven't been to in a while because obviously last year was at Torrey. So although Ludwig
Yep.
is the reigning champion, that was at Torrey Pines. So
Yeah.
he didn't win it at Rev. But I do have kind of a question regarding the picks. Um, what's kind of in a couple weeks we have the Bay Hill. Yeah, we have the Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill, and then we also have the Puerto Rico Open. So I was kind of thinking some stuff we could do with that. We could either do two different picks. We could not do the Puerto Rico Open at all, or we could say you can pick anybody for any of the categories. You can pick from either tournament, which basically would mean that I would probably pick Neil Shipley. Nobody else would from the Puerto Rico Open will be picked. So
Yeah. That's good planning ahead. I'm not sure. I think we got to incorporate both tournaments.
I think so too. I think it would give us a good opportunity because, like many golf fans, we don't. I don't watch really the Puerto Rico Open very, especially when a signature event's on. I'm not really going to pay that much attention to it. So maybe learn some more of these guys who we know less about and stuff like that. So I think that could be definitely a fun and
Yeah.
fun twist.
But
As that,
again, I was just gonna say it brings back to the fact that with the Puerto Rico Open, you really have guys fighting not only for the cut but
Mhm.
for their paycheck because these are the guys that need to earn their way up to the elevated events, and so that
Mhm.
can make it fun of itself. You don't have many guys at these signature events that are needing the paycheck quite as
Yeah.
much. They said Jacob Bridgman's bogey on hole 18 today cost him, I think, $180,000,
Wow.
which is pretty crazy. Kind of forget how much
Yeah.
more these signature events are paying out. But
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll
Especially,
we'll
I was gonna say, especially with guys like Scotty who all due, I'm not saying he doesn't want to fight for that position, but at his point in his career, like, does it really matter whether he finishes, 12th or fifth? That again, a couple 100,000 not going to do. When he's last year, he after sponsors and everything, he probably made over 60, $70 million. So what's that really going to do?
mhm,
Um, but yeah, definitely the guys on tournaments like the Puerto Rico Open, the Mexico Open, they are fighting for a paycheck. Also, if you win, you're in the all four majors, so it really means something. Then they're really fighting for it. They
yep,
made it to tour, but yeah, they're really fighting for it. So they could be fun. I would love to do some of those as well and dive into those and make them exciting. So yeah.
yeah. Well, let's finish out this California swing first next week at the Genesis.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm just looking ahead. I'm just so excited to watch Neil Shipley play golf again, Puerto Rico Open. That I'm buzzing. Dude.
Oh man,
I'm just
yeah. Well,
kidding.
why don't we jump over to the Live League
Hmm.
because might have had just as many headlines this week at
Yeah,
Adelaide.
I mean, one of the best comeback stories in golf. I know maybe Trevor Edelman said the best. That's close, maybe, but I mean Anthony Kim coming back after 12 years stepping away from the game and then coming back not only just coming back and winning, but look at the group he was in. Two of
Yep.
some of the best players in the world. You know, you got Bryson and John Rahm in the same group. I mean, that's unbelievable. Congrats to Anthony Kim. Did I say Tom Kim earlier? I meant Anthony Kim, not Tom.
No, you're good.
But congrats to Anthony Kim. I mean, this has to just be a surreal experience. You know, after it's been 12 years since he retired from the PGA Tour, and now he's back. So that's an awesome story.
Yep. And at a moment when Liv really needed it too,
Mhm.
as it feels like they're slowly dying. What a special moment for them and for their international crowd.
Yeah, I mean that's one that also it's not so much PGA versus Live with that. That is everyone's like that's amazing.
Right.
I mean, even on the broadcast again, I think it was I forget who said it, but they even gave a shout out, pretty much out of the blue too. They're talking about Scotty's bounce back percentage, and he's like, speaking of bounce backs, how about Anthony Kim? Congrats to him on his first win after 7 away from the game. So I thought that was really cool. That I'm sure that was very frowned upon. I'm sure the PGA Tour didn't like that, but you got to give credit where credit's due. That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
recognition of that too, and yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you had Bryson, you had Rom, you had Tyrrell Hatton all in the top five right behind them. So a star-studded leaderboard. Love to see that. Also a good Australian crowd. That was in Australia, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Good crowd nonetheless. So glad that
Wherever it
they
was.
could yeah. So yeah, what other thoughts you got? Any?
I was just gonna say, like going kind of back to Live, they now earn as of a couple weeks ago, they earn world golf ranking points. So I wonder where like I'm kind of curious how many points they're going to earn. You know what that does for Anthony Kim moving forward with his world golf ranking, and maybe obviously this would be a stretch. He'd have to have some really good finishes. Maybe like towards the end, getting into the Open, that would be a phenomenal
Yeah.
story. Again, that might be a stretch. I'm not sure how many points you earn, but that would be pretty cool, but we'll see. I mean, that's really awesome nonetheless, and yeah, really
Hmm.
really big, really big couple of weeks for Live. The news of them earning world golf ranking points was big, and now this was huge too. So,
Yeah.
and then kind of using that as a segue, I do have just a couple other points I want to hit, and then I have a question for you based on the
Oh,
tour. But first
let's
off,
hear them.
completely unrelated. How about Rio taking sake bombs during before he putts, taking a sip of sake before he putts? Um, I'm pretty sure that was a joke. I would be shocked if that was not a joke. But what do you think of that? And what do you think of that tactic?
Yeah, I did hear him say in that interview that it was just a joke.
Yeah,
He's not, in fact, drinking alcohol before every putt he makes. But I love it. It's a young guy with character. I think both the tour and the fans are going to love him equally. So another good finish this week, another top of the leaderboard. Um, I think he said the reason he drinks water before every putt is just to calm himself.
yeah.
And so a lot of respect for that as well, to sticking
Mm,
to what helps you and really, really gets it done. Side note too, I have had sake before. At the restaurant, they served it warm.
oh,
So
really?
I wonder if there's a thermos in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Maybe we'll have that would be an interesting one. Maybe someday we'll have Ryu Hisetsuni on the
That's
pod
right.
talking about the sake bombs. But yeah, I'm really excited for. I mean, another guy to kind of add towards looking to the President's Cup. Another big name for the President's Cup. Big name for the country of Japan, who's grown in golf quite a bit, and great personality. Really young, 23 years old. So I think he's going to be a big name on the tour to come.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
they
it's
said
cool.
at the WM last week, being
Mhm.
paired up with Hideki, who is just the
Yeah,
absolute idol of Japan. Super cool
yeah.
moment for him that they got to play together, even though it didn't work out for him in the end.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see what that brings. But the next point I have is, what do you think about Tommy Fleetwood's on course apparel? Looked like he went to the pro shop beforehand and picked out a bunch of Pebble Beach merch.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be in between apparel sponsors, but I know he probably dropped a bag in there and maybe even gave part of the cut from that top 10 finish to the pro
Maybe.
shop. So big
I
week for Beach in the pro shop and on the course.
Those people they were fired up. They got a top 10 fish. The people who sold it to him are probably popping the champagne as we speak. But
Yeah.
I wonder if he actually did just go into the pro shop before and was like, I'm just gonna start wearing courses every round. That's sweet.
Shout out to Jake DeLiz before we played at the South Point Invitational. It was like April and he was freezing, so he bought a vest in the pro shop before the round.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I will say about Tommy Fleetwood, I'm not sure how I feel about the Pebble hat and the Pebble shirt or jacket. I would like to see him mix it up a little bit. I'm sure he has some pretty exclusive logos in there. Let's see that rotation get up there.
Yeah. Yeah, well he continues to play well, so he's gonna be able to have some leverage with whatever future sponsor comes his
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I'd like to. All I'm saying is I'd like to see maybe an Oakmont logo on there, maybe a Seven Oaks logo if we pay him enough. Who knows? But who knows? That's an interesting take. I kind of like it though. But
I like
who
it
knows?
too. We need more professionals repping the local golf merch.
I think if I were him, I would go into I wouldn't even try with sponsors because he's got to have some pretty cool shirts in there. Like I'm wearing a Tree Farms polo with I don't know, with a Augusta National hat, or I'm going for the winged foot polo with the Fisher's Head Island on the he's got to have some really cool polo. That's all I'm saying. Um,
Yeah.
I want to see some logos in there, so
You never
I
know if the tournament's gonna come down to having an inside connection with the local greenskeeper.
that is true. That is true. I mean, I'm trying to think if in a couple weeks they're at. I'm trying to think of a cool course there. Let's say PGA Championship. They're at Arinamunk and or Arinamic, and their greenskeeper personally sold them all this stuff. What's gonna happen? Who's gonna have the leg up then? So
That's right.
we'll see. But yeah, let's hope Tommy keeps pumping out those logos and keeps giving those pro shops a lot of money. So
I love it. That's expert journalism right there from you.
yes, yes, I am. We have talked more about uh, golf apparel than I would have ever thought when we started this.
Didn't expect there to be so many storylines.
No, I'm just so caught up in their outfits. So I'm just kidding. But it does make for good conversation. But but yeah, we'll see. That's something to keep an eye out. One last thing before we end this episode, we're gonna do a little game here, okay? So we just got done. They just got done. I need to stop saying we. I'm not on the tour. They just got done playing maybe the most beautiful and iconic par three in golf. So we're gonna do some blind rankings of PGA Tour, or I guess just par
Yeah,
threes in general, that we've seen the last year or so. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready. How many are we? How long is this list?
We got five. We got five.
All right, 1 through 5.
So 1 through 5.
Sweet.
First par three up is number 17 at Sawgrass.
Yeah, I knew that one was coming.
Every par three that's going to be on here. I think
Yep,
one. I think is going to be a curveball.
I love it. I don't want to put it at number one to start off these rankings, but I'm trying to think in my mind what else you could put on this list to beat it out at number one. Um, it is a wedge fest. Sometimes you'll have some wind playing a big factor, but I'm gonna put it at number two.
Okay, number two. Number two. All right, the next one is going to be again no shocker, 16 at TPC Scottsdale.
Yeah. If we were talking par threes alone, I'm putting it at the bottom. It's a very
Yeah.
basic hole, but a par three on the PGA Tour,
Mhm.
it's the best of the best. Love the atmosphere. I'm putting it at number three.
Number three. Okay, okay. I so far about halfway, and I think you're going to be disappointed with the result personally. Okay, we are going to go number seven at Pebble.
Shoot, same thing. I love it. It's the best of the best, but I want to save that number one slot for a trick you might have up your sleeve.
Oh, I got a big trick.
I think that's got to be number one though. That's when you said part threes on the PGA Tour. That's what everyone's mind goes to. So especially maybe there's recency bias coming off the Pebble Beach Pro Am, but that is the best part three on the PGA
Mhm.
Tour.
Absolutely, definitely scenery wise, no arguments here. The fourth is again no surprises. Amen Corner 12 at Augusta.
Yeah, equally great hole, and this is where you go from not having a great hole from maybe as much of a visual perspective, but rather as a strategic and challenging perspective. I've always loved the hole, the way it's designed,
Mhm.
because when you have a right hander hitting a fade, you're losing distance as it's coming in. And the way the green is designed, that ball is going to roll into the
Mhm.
pond every time. If the right hander is hitting the draw, you're going to add distance to it. You're going to airmail the green the way it's designed. So super, super incredibly designed hole. I only can put it at number four, so Amen Corner is number four.
All right. And then your number five, and I know this one has a close spot in your heart. Number five is number 17 at Bethpage Black, which is not a regular visit, but was obviously the Ryder Cup. And I know that might be, if you could redo it, that might be number one for you, maybe.
Yeah, you're gonna do that to me right after we play the course.
Yeah,
I
that's
love that hole so much. It's I think my favorite picture I took
mhm,
at Bethpage because the bunkers are just incredible the way they
yeah.
visually intimidate you. Most of them aren't even in play, but it's laid out incredibly. The green is two tiered, which almost makes for two different holes. Unfortunately, at the Ryder Cup, most of the time the matches didn't get to 17. We definitely saw some drama there on the last day, but when we also played it, we saw those grandstands, and so that was another unique factor. But I have no choice than to put it at number five.
Yeah, I feel like if a lot of people were to do that rankings, they would be okay with that. But just because the PGA Tour doesn't go there very often, and majors haven't been there in a while, even though what the PGA Championship's going there in was it like 30 something? But it is the most one of the most stunning holes, unbelievably difficult, laid out so well. The bunkers just give it something. It's just beautiful, but definitely the most, in my opinion, people don't really talk about it, but one of the best par threes in the world. So, um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
great analysis too.
Let us know in the comments down below what you would have put
Yeah,
differently.
yeah, I would say
I
it
think,
does.
I think the list is pretty typical for your PGA viewer, but what would you have switched any?
So obviously, I knew since I knew it, I would have gone 12 at Augusta, number one. I just think it's the most iconic hole in golf. Like you said, like there's nothing too like special about it visually, but also it's just Augusta and everything's perfect. That visually it is just stunning, and the layout, yeah, like I mean that the green sits horizontally when you're looking at it. It's just you go short, it's you go short, you're in Race Creek, you go long, you're either in a bunker, you have some weird lie. It's, you have Hogan's Bridge, so it's just the most iconic hole in golf. Number two, I would have gone 17 at Bethpage because, like you said, it holds a special place in our hearts. Number three, I would have gone 7 at Pebble, which that and 17 at Augusta, I think you could interchange. To me, 7 at Pebble is just a little short for playability. Um, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of when players are knocking down wedges to like knock some of the spin off personally, but it's still a phenomenal hole. Then I would have gone 17 at Sawgrass, and then I would have gone 16 at Scottsdale, just because it is a great atmosphere when the tour's there, and they tear down the grandstands. Just another par three. So yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well, that was fun. We'll have to do that again.
yeah, absolutely. I'll try to think of some more blind rankings, kind of blend in with the theme of that week and whatnot. So yeah, we'll definitely have some more of those around the corner. But as uh, yeah, now that's pretty much all I got for this episode. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. We had a bunch of fun filming, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Evening 9 podcast. See you next time.
But see you guys.